To a special meeting of Council today, the 18th of November 2020. I'll now call the meeting open at 9:02 a.m. Welcome to councillors, staff, and also to media, and welcome to the community who are engaging with us through our live streaming technology. First of all, I don't believe we have any apologies or leaves of absence. We'll skip right through to the first item on the agenda, item 5, declaration of interest in relation to matters to be dealt with on the agenda for today's special meeting. If I could perhaps first of all declare that I have under the current legislation, a declarable conflict of interest in relation to the matters at hand, being item 6.1, the Kingaroy Transformation Project Design Update. Some background on such is that with the new legislation, there was some uncertainty in my mind as to whether it was a prescribed or a declarable conflict of interest in time gone by, and as such I then elected to voluntarily excuse myself from any engagement with councillors and also from any participation in any workshops or forums associated with this project, on the basis that I have a business located within proximity of the CBD area. However, since that time and the introduction of the legislation, I've now conferred with the LGAQ, and senior staff at the LGAQ have advised that it is indeed not a prescribed conflict of interest, but on the facts that I've presented them with, it's a fact a declarable conflict of interest, and the advice is that I should put that to my fellow councillors in my absence for you to decide appropriately whether or not I am able to participate in the matter in the public interest. So the facts are such that I'm a director of a company which operates an accounting practice. The company leases premises, does not own the premises, but leases premises, which are at which border onto the Oxford Street car park in behind the laneway which runs into Kingaroy Street. The business isn't. I do not expect that the business will receive any material benefit from the KTP project, on the basis that none of the business operators in the CBD, our practice does not have any business operators in the Kingaroy CBD who are clients. Almost all of our clients are farmers. We specialise in primary production, so all of our farmers are clients, bar a couple who are in other towns. There are no local businesses clients of our firm, and as I said, we don't lease. We lease the premises. We don't own the premises, so we don't expect to get any benefit from the KTP project. I feel comfortable that I'm able to exercise the appropriate level of objectivity in acting at all times at 100% in the public interest in relation to this matter. But I would like to now leave the room and leave that to my colleagues to make that decision, and I will honour, of course, that decision. So that's for me. Does any other councillor wish to raise a conflict of interest? CEO Mark, should Councillor Shoemaker perhaps raise her matter?
If councillor would like, hers has been extinguished, but it might be good to put it on the public record. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did also originally have some concerns as to whether in relation to my potential conflicts of interest, as I was an executive member of the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce. However, since our original discussions about the KTP project, and I have since stood down and no longer am a member of the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce executive, I am now, so I do not feel that in any way impacts my ability to act in the best interests of the community in regards to the Kingaroy Transformation Project, but certainly would like to put it on record, and from the advice that I've received from CEO Mark and LGAQ, it's my understanding that because I have resigned as a KCCI executive member, my conflict of interest has been extinguished, so I can now participate in the Kingaroy Transformation Project.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Mr CEO, did you want to just clarify that?
No, Mr. Mayor, that's pretty clear. What would have caused a conflict has been extinguished, so there is no conflict there now. So it's just good to have it on record. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr CEO. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to leave the room, leave the matter with my colleagues to resolve, and I'll hand over to Deputy Mayor Councillor Jones to preside over the meeting until such time as that matter is resolved. Thank you.
So I guess the first thing we need to do, council, is move for have a resolution to discuss this matter, as the Mayor has clearly stated, about a perceived or declarable conflict. So, Mr CEO, someone has to move that?
Well, the discussion point is whether you believe on the information that's provided to you that the Mayor can act in his best judgment for the community as opposed to the relevance of the conflict. He's given you the facts, so it's just a call from the floor now as to does he stay or does he go, to quote the old song. Yeah, to call for a mover, please. Yep.
So would someone like to move the resolution? Councillor Froloff, thank you. What's the resolution, Mr. CEO?
Well, what's the councillor moving? That he stays and can act in the public good, or?
I do.
You need to move. So that was a move that the Mayor, similar to what with Councillor Potter last meeting with the donation. So it was council resolved that the councillor, even though there may be a conflict there, and there is the advice is that there is a conflict. The Mayor has a business in the region. Will that business gain any benefit, greater or less than any other? No, not in the CBD. I can't do this one for you guys. It's you need to make a decision that he can act in the public good and exercise his judgment. You make a decision based on the information before you, and if that's what Councillor Froloff is moving.
So, Mr. CEO, is it fair to say that the resolution will be moved if Councillor Froloff decides to move that Mayor Otto is able to stay? Then we open it up to the floor for any conversation.
Once it's seconded, yes.
That's right, once it's seconded, and then if there's any change, there is a chance to change the resolution and vote on that.
Any resolution is in the hands of the councillors.
So everyone clear with that, councillors? That the resolution is first moved and seconded. We've got Councillor Froloff moving the resolution, and that resolution, councillor, was?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Jones. I have concerns. He does have a. Sorry.
We just need to get the resolution moved, council, and then we'll come back and ask for opinion. So if you want to move that resolution first,
yes,
and I'll call for someone to second that resolution, councillor.
Sorry,
Councillor.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Just what is the resolution? That was all.
The resolution, Councillor Froloff, is that at this stage the Mayor will be able to stay involved in the KTP at this stage. Is that the resolution you're moving or putting forward?
sorry. No, I have concerns about the Mayor staying because I do believe it is a conflict.
So discussion later. So we need somebody to move the resolution from the floor. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. Yes, I'll move that the Mayor be allowed to stay in the whatever appropriate wording, but it's okay for him to stay during the discussions.
The basic crux of it is that the mayor is able to stay in the room and participate, recognising he has a conflict, but he will exercise his judgment in the public good.
And seconder, Councillor Potter. All right, we can now open it up to the floor for any councillors that wish to make a comment for or against. If I guess maybe this is something that's important to the council and the community, maybe we go around the chamber and have individual councillors present for or against, or any discussion that needs to be had. Councillor Henson, do you want to start?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. Yes, I have concerns with this in relation to I don't support it. I think the conflict of interest things today is very important. There's a 50-50 with conflicts of interest, and my fear is down the track where this could come back and be seriously detrimental, not only to Mayor Otto and his business, but to the council as well. And I think I'm afraid I can't support that motion. Thank you.
Any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Froloff?
Sorry. Yes, Deputy Mayor Jones. I'm also have concerns about having Mayor Otto come back into the Kingroy transformation. Yes, he does have a business and it doesn't impact the thing, but with, as Councillor Henson said, it later on down the track, you never know, with the strict rules that we've got to abide by with Belcara. If something does come up later on, it's not only detrimental to the mayor, but also to our council.
Councillor Potter. Thanks, Councillor Froloff.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would just like some clarification here with regards to this particular one. We're just voting on this one for today. So if there is another issue that comes up at a later date at another meeting to do with the KTP project, that is then voted on again.
Mr Deputy Mayor, if council concludes that the mayor is unable to not exercise, or the conflict's too sorry, I'll rephrase that. If the council concludes that the conflict's too great, that conflict would stand until I would have to take advice, but that conflict would stand until something changed. So your decision today. The other bit is just picking up on some of the comments, and again, not speaking for or against, but so you've got the information. Councillors vote today on the information that's provided to them. If something is not provided or changes down the track and you had no knowledge of that, that's the individual councillor's responsibility, not the council as a collective. So you debate this on understanding of the information you have before you, not what may happen into the future.
Councillor Schumacher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'm listening to CEO Mark's advice and recognise that the Mayor has sought external advice from LGAQ senior advisors and been advised that his conflict is not too great, that he cannot act in the public good and experience and exercise his judgment with this project. This is a once-in-a-lifetime project, as we have been told time and time again. It has significant financial implications for council, and being that the mayor sets the strategic direction with his councillors and the team for council, I think it is critical that the mayor is involved in this project. I do see he does run a business from the main street. However, he does not own the building, he leases the facilities. He is a local business owner, yes, but I do not believe that outweighs his ability to act in the best interests of the community with this project. And we're talking about, as the CEO has said, right now, the advice he has been given is that he can participate fully in this project by declaring his conflict, yes, but without risking any change or any I simply do not understand why our council would be against our mayor being a part of this project. It's a critical project for this term of council, and I see absolutely no reason. I think he's done the right thing in terms of declaring his conflict and seeking external advice, but I see absolutely no reason why he can't be a part of this project. and a part of these discussions. And I actually see it will be difficult for this council to deliver on this project without being able to engage with the mayor. So my view is he can stay, that he's done the right thing, he's sought legal advice, and he has declared his conflict of interest, and that as a council and as a team, it is very important that he has a role in this project. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Duff?
I agree with Councillor Shoemaker. I think that he's gone through the correct process. I think this project is going to go on for years, 2 or 3 years at the very least, and to leave the mayor out of this, as he's our media spokesperson, he's going to be front and centre, and for him to, every time there's something talked about the Kingaroy transformation project, if he has to just say to the media, no, I can't speak because I've got, well, in essence, to me, he hasn't got, like if we say that he hasn't got a declarable interest, or that he's okay to stay in, then we've made the decision that yes, he can. But if we say no, it's just going to be so challenging for the next 2 or 3 years for the mayor to be able to be part of this massive project, but not actually to be able to vote or speak about it. I just think it's so wrong. So I absolutely agree with Councillor Shoemaker on this particular one.
Councillor Potter, you got anything else to add? I just, firstly, I want to say to Councillor Duff, I don't think the council or any councillor in this chamber wants to leave the mayor out. I think they have concerns because of this Belcara stuff that is being imposed upon all councils across Queensland. Does the mayor deserve to be a part of it? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. The fact that he's declared an interest, and it's now he's got his advice that it is not a major concern. It's only a declarable, not a prescribed. My information is that this, and I'm not speaking for or against here, I am still undecided how I will vote, but this is untested, this situation in council, and as we're known, or as we've been made aware, that this is something that the OIA, even though the mayor has stated that he's gone to LGAQ, OIA is a different kettle of fish. Now, they're the ones that do the investigating and all that sort of stuff. Now, like I say, does he deserve the right to be there? Absolutely, absolutely. In a perfect world, I'd love to see him there. It's just a matter of, as individual councillors, you have to feel comfortable with it. And I guess, like taking on what Councillor Shoemaker said, that the information that has been provided to us today, according to the Mayor's information and what the CEO has endorsed, is that we deal with the information that's given to us here today. And if there's a conflict of interest arises down the track, it will be wholly and solely on the councillor that's provided the information in regards to the conflict, rather than the individual councillors. So the council, as it sits here now, will not be held accountable, Mr. CEO. Is that correct? If there is any other conflict that arises in the future. So with what we're dealing here now and the information we have, I guess for me personally, I think he has the right to come back, simply because if there's any other issues arising, it is wholly and solely on the councillor or the mayor, Mr. or Councillor Otto, rather than us. So in saying that, I'll give any other councillor another opportunity, one last opportunity to say any further words, and then we'll put it to the vote. Councillor
Mayor,
Ancient.
may I ask the question in the event, I know we're talking of today, and I'm with everyone in this room. Yes, the Mayor, everyone needs to be a part of this revitalisation. This Belcara report, as we know in our short term since the last election, has changed and changed and changed. What is the accountability status, I ask maybe the CEO, in the event? I know we're talking down the track, but what is the accountability for councillors and council in the future?
In what regard, councillor? The COA provisions have changed with the changes of the regs that came through this last month. So where we used to be perceived and different things, you now have the prescribed. The prescribed COI is quite narrow, really, now that we're getting into the definition of it, but it is also automatic. So if you have a prescribed conflict of interest, you have no choice, you're out of the room. And you really, the onus is, and you must declare it. Declarable conflicts of interests get a bit murky, and I'll go back to last meeting, the $33 donation. I honestly, in my own belief, don't believe that's what our forefathers were thinking when they were looking at conflict of interest, but those sorts of things, while we're feeling our way with that. The act of non-disclosure, as I've spoken to you about many times, is a bigger issue now than dealing with the conflict. We deal with conflicts all the time. The accountability is as if it's recognised as a conflict that there's managed. And for like at staff level, we have management plans to deal with where we know there's a conflict. Doesn't mean the activity can't occur. It can be managed. The accountability, long answer short, rests with the individual councillor. That's my understanding of it anyway, sir.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I believe the Mayor can act in the best interests of the community and in the best interests of public good and exercise his judgment. The Mayor does not own the building, and he has done the right thing in the training we've had with Belcara. The Belcara reforms are not about creating a culture of fear in which we as councillors must operate within. The Belcara reforms are about transparency, accountability, openness and integrity, core values of which I personally take very seriously. I operate from those core values of transparency, accountability, openness and integrity. The Mayor has followed the right process in which we have all sat in training with the LGAQ, in which we have been told all about, we've done scenarios, we've had the discussion about declarable and prescribed conflicts of interest, and I understand there is still very much some grey in the legislation, and I understand LGAQ and various other bodies in which we are a part of are working toward rectifying some of that, and that will take time. But there has been enormous mistrust over the last few years with local governments, and we can all name those local governments, and I don't believe we as a council will operate in that way. I believe that the Mayor's followed the right process, and I believe that he has absolutely, he has the right intentions, and I do believe in his judgment in terms of being able to act in the best interests of the community and act in the best interests of the public, and that this is such a critical project, it would be ludicrous for us as councillors to vote him out of the room. So I'm fully supportive of the Mayor being a part of these discussions. I think it's important. This project is a legacy project for this term of council, and I believe we need all 7 of us around the table for this project. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones.
Yeah, look, fully support everything you've just said there, Councillor Shoemaker. One question, and we have and I don't want to put the gentleman on the spot or draw attention to him, but we have a project manager that is currently looking after the project, and as a council, we've taken all his ability to affect operational decisions and budgetary decisions and all that, and he owns a business, doesn't operate a business in the CBD. So
Yeah, that's, councillor, it's probably a different topic. Broadly speaking, my comments just before, broadly speaking, no individual should be spoken about.
Yep.
the conflict can, and again, I'll go back to broad terms, the conflict can exist. I mean, like, we all have family relationships, we all have businesses, we all have some sort of interest. The decision point is, can the conflict be managed? Yes, if with a staff member, we either remove the staff member from the issue, or we have a management plan in place. We have a fairly robust conflict of interest. We all process like that. It's pretty much, I'll say, not exactly the same, but it's pretty close to the same for councillors. The question is, conflict exists. There's no dispute about that. Is it any greater or less than any other business in the CBD? No. Is it able to be managed? And that's the question. And so, and then the question is, the mayor can act within the public good. So yeah, so as far as staff goes, there's management plans and a whole structure around them.
Thanks for that, excuse me, explanation, CEO. And I guess is there no other comments to be made from the floor, we'll take a vote on the resolution. And the resolution is, that council resolve that Mayor Otto has a declarable conflict of interest in the matter, and notwithstanding the conflict, Mayor Otto may participate in the matter, discuss and vote upon it. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Decision carried 6-0. Thank you. Can we now invite Mayor Otto back in? Thank you.
Right, thank you all. Thanks, Mr. CEO. Okay, so the purpose of the special meeting is to attend to the item referred to as 6.1 on the agenda, the Kingaroy Transformation Project Design Update. Can be found at page 5 on the agenda notes. And I might hand over now to you, Mr. CEO, to move the process forward. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to do a pass to the project team and general manager, so if I may.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Today we thought we would run through the latest design update over the previous workshops that we've had with council, and also on the back of our community consultation. The design is not dissimilar to what went out for public consultation. It basically takes through those items of finesse that we've made changes to. The other one there is today we will release the concept for the community zone in Glennon Street. We haven't released a revised design there since the previous design undertaken by the previous consultants, which was back in late 2018. So today we thought we would walk through that. Just for council's notice, today is about going through the design similar to the workshops. Alan will run through from start to finish and we'll take questions at the end. For council's information, this project will be coming to the general next Wednesday on the 25th for resolution around budget, design, all of those items above for your discussion in that space. So, all right, with that, I'll hand to Alan to run through. And if Linnell, if you can scroll through for him, that would be good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Councillors, Mr. Mayor and councillors. As Aaron said, there hasn't been a lot of change, just a bit of finesse since the previous workshops, but just presenting it formally to council to let us move forward. There's a brief agenda there which just follow the slides, so we'll skip through that. Probably just want to touch on, again, the outcomes and objectives of the project. And, very much as part of the application and the outcome, what is it, the outcome from this project is about Human and social, particularly inclusiveness and access for all people has been a major issue through the consultation and has been exceptionally well received. And by any measure, we have a very inaccessible CBD now. Developing improved cultural experiences, opportunities for residents and visitors. And again, a lot of the feedback has been, there's very little to keep visitors and tourists alike in the CBD. Creating a community of choice and opportunities for positive growth. So enable that growth rather than currently there's probably some disablers, if that's a word. Supporting community events, activation and engagement, and very much the consultation that we've had undertaken with various groups about the street generally, but particularly activating the Glennon Street zone has been very, very well received. Significant community safety improvements, in particular footpath trips and falls, but the Haley Street crossing. So it's been structured to comply with all of the current standards. And the other big aspect of that is lighting and nighttime safety. Had numerous comments from people about how dark the town is at night. Obviously, encouraging out of that building enhancement and community pride. So we're well aware of the issues around that. And the evidence is when these projects are done in not only our area, Nanango, for example, but other towns, that the whole CBD comes along for the ride. Infrastructure renewal and modernisation. So our smart country, which is an offtake of the smart cities. So we're developing fit for purpose pathways for connectivity and future readiness. And just reinforced that last week, Aaron and I attended a state conference for the Institute of Public Works Engineers and about the discussion around, for example, autonomous vehicles and how they rely on good data networks, how so many devices in the future will rely. Director General Neil Scales of Main Roads talked a lot about this. So the project will provide that enabler, as well as providing the capacity for things like electric cars, community Wi-Fi, high-speed internet. Improved pedestrian safety and nighttime security, I've spoken about. I think everyone's well aware of that. And it's a full infrastructure replacement. So the roads, water, footpaths, curb and channel, and street lighting. Importantly, in that aspect, we are looking to optimise and use modern techniques to manage costs and reduce costs where possible, and really deliver fit for purpose but modern outcomes. That's through the street lighting, the road designs and the pavement designs. We're using the latest techniques available. Continuing on, obviously the two catchphrases: community activation, economic regeneration. Economic regeneration and recovery is an important aspect of the project. A number of empty shops and business generally struggling within the CBD. There is a significant job creation during the project. So we estimate using the accepted modelling that 57 direct jobs will be created in the South Burnett during construction. There'll be ongoing benefits beyond that, and we'll update those economic benefits once the project's authorised. The total benefit of the project locally is estimated at $22.8 million. Increased business activity during both daytime and nighttime, and particularly Saturday afternoon, Sunday and evenings. The CBD is basically dead in terms of foot traffic. Trying to activate and provide more foot traffic provides opportunities. Enhanced online opportunities with high-speed internet and the Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things is the popular word for devices that are going to be connected across the board. We'll be able to do pedestrian counts automatically, car counts, whether it's temperature, a whole range of things. Everyone's world is contained within a thing as big as your phone, and connectivity for the future is critical, both from a public point of view, but also business growth. And importantly, identity and recognition. So key part of our project is the regionalisation and the inclusion of those linkages back to our regions, and particularly through the lanterns that are proposed, but also linking that and connecting it all together within the shared zone. It doesn't dominate the design, but it provides that linkage and has been exceptionally well received by all people. Sorry, we did have one objection to it yesterday, but that was the lighting design. Recognition of First Nations people, we certainly need to recognise the fact that they're an important part of our community generally, and particularly the South Burnett. We have a strong and a significant population within our community, and incorporate that into the design. But really underlying that in terms of identity is improving and re-establishing, I call it, what the Kingaroy identity is. So as a regional centre, and I think that's a critical outcome, and that's not going to just happen as part of the project. It's going to happen through the stakeholders and the engagements and the partners that we bring through, for example, KCCI. So just touching on the scope of works, what's in scope and out of scope. So we're complete asset renewal, as I said, roads and footpaths, including the pavement, curb and channel, the water and stormwater networks. With the water, importantly, those pipes are very old. AC pipes and firefighting capacity, is not what it could be. Undergrounding of the ergon and street lighting. Enhancement projects, so updating and upgrading the parking and pedestrian safety. So we're significantly going to enhance the safety around that. Obviously, the landscape and treescape. There's numerous more trees, which will soften that to what's there now. The feature lighting, which is going to be a real opportunity to promote that regionalisation, and the smart country and technology upgrades. So enabling and the capacity for those future high-speed internet. What is out of scope is obviously anything on private buildings. So we facilitate disabled access where we can by footpaths grades, but we will not be responsible, as it stands now, to correct every step and access into the buildings, but we'll work with them as best we can. Internal facade improvements, internal building improvements, the installation of the fibre within the network that we're providing, that's a future project. Electric car charging stations will make provision for it, but not the actual stations. And public Wi-Fi is another example of what's not included in the scope. So we'll walk through the plans on the next screen, next pages, please, Linnell. So the plan there is the landscape and treescape plan, which gives you the overall scope of the project. So the scope covers starting from the north or the top of the page, Hayley Street from Youngman through to the railway crossing effectively at Kingaroy Street. Heading south down Kingaroy Street, you have Glennon Street from Hayley through to Alfred Street, and then across the bottom, Glennon Street Alfred Street between Youngman and through to almost just past Short Street. Just noting that the section to the east on Alfred Street in the black box is predominantly surface work and some landscaping. So all the curb will be on top of the existing surface and then line marking. So it will look different, but it's not a full depth replacement. The areas in grey, which is the Glennon Street community zone, the area in front of the Commonwealth Bank and the railhead, we'll bring that back for final adoption once we get some community feedback and have just optimised that design. Just again on scope, the red areas there represent the proportions of the portions of the project which fall under main roads responsibility in terms of the costs and cost sharing. The green is our pavements, and then the blue is just representative of where the parking is. Thanks, Lionel. We have a type cross section there. It's a little bit hard to see, but that's a typical cross section. So each area will be slightly different. For example, Alfred Street at the western end, and Shopping World doesn't have awnings on the southern side. But that's a typical cross-section where we have a 1 metre wider footpath, so that takes it out to almost 5 metres, and that allows activation of the street and on-street either display or dining, for example, for businesses. It also provides us with an extra metre of corridor for the underground services. The lighting there, significantly, that's the proposed solar offset LED lighting. So our total power consumption on this project, when it's finished, will be less than what's there currently, and that includes with the additional feature lighting when installed. So we have street lights only on the one side, but they've been designed to significantly improve the lighting everywhere, and it's a bit hard to see, but you can see the lanterns there. It shows the nominal pavement replacement and the stormwater. Obviously, we've got a package of plans, about a foot deep for the various stages to give us the details. But that's the concept of the full road. Thanks, Linnell. This is a half section of through a raised planter. So the street trees, which are the smaller 4 to 5 metre trees, they'll be placed at approximately every 15 to 18 metres through the street in a raised planter. That'll do two things. One, it'll provide height so that we don't block the vision through to the business with the height of the trees. And the trees have been selected strategically to be local. In the case of the street trees, non-deciduous, drought-proof, long trunk, not too many leaves. So it's quite a small range, but we've selected with the landscape architect suitable species in consultation with Greg Griffiths. Greg has actually supplied the list of plants. That planter will also, and we've had a couple of people ask about vehicle bollards. They will actually provide a bit of safety. We had an incident recently where a vehicle went into a shop. It provides a physical barrier, and together with the lanterns, there'll actually be physical barriers if someone does mount a footpath. You certainly won't drive through these. So that's just again a bit more detail. This plan here is a parking summary plan. So the light blue areas are the areas of on-street parking. The dark blue are areas of off-street parking, both formal and informal. So we've included the George Street area there, which is used as an informal park currently, and we've included Shopping World just for clarity. The red parks there are disabled parks. They all have a shared zone right beside them, so there's a 1.2 metre shared zone. Typically, beside each of those, we also have a green park. So the green parks are what's implemented at Mergen, and they're meant for aged people, or elderly people, and people with prams, just to provide them with a facility where they have a fully compliant grade and ramp, and also the opportunity to use that shared zone, for example, to get a pram out or have a walker. The yellow long rectangle, they're the loading zones. Since last, with some refinements we've made, we've relocated the taxi zone in consultation with Barry Hall from Kingaroy Taxis up to in front of the current florist in Haley Street. That was a good facilitated with him to optimise being pretty much central to all the hotels. Reality is most taxis aren't hailed these days. They're done on the phone or on an app. We have included a new loading zone which is in Circular Place over behind on the other side of Glennon Street car park to provide an actual loading zone to service those businesses from the rear. And we have had consultation with Carl Price from Kingaroy Freight on that, and he's very happy with that outcome and would rather service those buildings from the rear. This plan here, the code suggests, the Australian standard suggests that you have access to disability parks within a 50-metre radius. Those circles are 50-metre radius. The solid circles are the on-street and the dotted ones are the off-street. So you can see we've got very, very good coverage. And significantly, we've gone from, I have quoted 6, so the guys informed me yesterday it was actually 4 on-street disabled parks, up to a total of 16 on-street and another 14 off-street. So we're significantly increasing that percentage, and it is very badly needed. So moving on, so to the renders. So this is an updated render looking up Kingaroy Street for the design intent. It shows the Kingaroy Street crossing. It'll be a slightly raised crossing, so it'll be about 150 mil higher than the surrounding pavement. The alfresco areas and the general concept of what that street will look like with both the street trees and the coloured trees. This is again a render you've seen before. This is the design intent for the colours and the pavement and the landscaping, etc. This is a nighttime render at the Club Hotel looking north. Again for the pub zone, similar things. Of note there is the dark pavement at the access to the alfresco zones. So that's there from a serviceability point of view and cleaning aspect. So. And it also provides a contrast for disabled access, as opposed to having, the dots there, which you often see. And you can see there's a wheelchair coming up that ramp. So all of those will be fully compliant in terms of access. This is similarly at the commercial hotel area during the daytime. Just another image. similar stuff. This is a nighttime image. There's a lot of important stuff in this in terms of if we looked at the raised planters I described earlier, with the seats behind them. And the artwork in the backrest there. It also shows the lantern, the lanterns and the design intent. That one's got very small red ants, but the detail of that and the actual artwork is yet to be agreed. That's one example for the little piggies for the backrest. Sorry, just scroll back to that. Yeah, importantly, and as we've described before, those backrests will be where we'll have the Kingaroy identity. So that'll be pigs or peanuts or whatever other image that's selected, and that'll provide very much the Kingaroy link. The other place is in those alfresco and the corner zones is going to be specific to Kingaroy to give it that sense of identity. Our Treescape design's been a big part of it, and I think we've developed a very sustainable and improved. There was a lot of pushback on the deciduous rain trees we've got now. They are all being removed and replaced with generally non-deciduous trees for the majority. So the tree selection and palette is there, and where we're planting them. As we've previously spoken about, we've gone for red and yellow colours, which reflect the South Burnett swirl. And the sort of species we've selected will give us some burst of colour in spring. And for those who look this spring, the flame trees and silky oaks are particularly brilliant. And then in autumn with the liquid amber and the gold and ash. So we have got some deciduous trees in the proposal around the Glennon Street, Alfred Street roundabout. We put them there because of the location of the shop fronts is not such that the impact of deciduous trees will be less. And then also back on the extremities, so in Short Street near the police station, and then possibly in Haley Street at the western side. So it just gives us a splash of colour at the different times through the year. That's the species selection that's proposed, and again, that's been selected from a fairly small list that was agreed to with Greg and the landscape architects. Because of the nature of a CBD projects, a lot of species won't grow in a confined area, so we work somewhat limited. A lot of these trees are currently used with our landscaping around the region, and obviously, the flame trees and the silky oaks are very much a native to this area. An important aspect of the project is the lighting features, both in pavement and then the lanterns. But the lanterns really provide that key linkage to back to the regional towns. So they're the townships that have been agreed to have the town entry signage through James's signage project, and all have images associated with them. So once a project is given the go-ahead from a delivery point of view, we'll sit down with each of the divisional councillors and select the correct images that are suitable for example, Mergen is the water lily or whatever that might look like, or blackbutt is a bunya nut tree or timber industry. So they're the towns that we're proposing to provide lanterns on. This is the design intent. So, for example, that's Kingaroy. With peanuts embossed in the bottom, laser cut in the bottom, sorry. So that'll be visible during day and night. So these two are at night. That'll be fully programmable lighting. So for example, if it was today in 2 years' time, we could have those being maroon. There wouldn't be any blue ones. You're not allowed to program in blue. In spite of my blue tie. But that's a really important feature because it allows us to cater, for this case, I mean, we've selected pink, but, we had the Cancer Awareness Week a couple of weeks ago, or, Are You OK Day, we can go with a yellow. Yellow is a little difficult, but, various colours, and we can make them look a bit like a fire pit by going with an orangey colour. So, again, Geelong, there's an example there with the beef cow. So the idea, well, as part of the resolution would be to adopt the designs in concept. Obviously, there's significant design detail beyond what you see in terms of structures, pavement depths, all sorts of stuff. And, as I said, I've literally got a pile of drawings about a foot high that we're doing the absolute final checks on, ready for construction. So adopt in principle the shared zone and those design for community consultation, and then we'll come back once we get the feedback. So we've just thrown in there the previous design. So this is not the current design. This is the earlier design, option 2 for Glendon Street, where it showed it completely closed. And just reminding councillors, the very, very strong feedback from 2018 is that closing Glendon Street was not at all a favourite of the community, and we've addressed that in the current design. Yeah, and this is a second option, and the other significant thing about this is the design scope. If you look at this compared to the next image, there's significantly more infrastructure and cost in the proposal that you're seeing there in front of you now. So, yeah, thanks, Lynelle. So, just out a little bit of order there. Sorry, no, you're right. Keep going, Lynelle. Just stay there. Sorry. What the community zone concept is about, and we've developed this a bit through the consultation process, but also internally, is really developing a zone that can activate that Glendon Street and make use of the facilities that we've already got there and bring it together. Bring those together, as well as bringing the whole design together. So it's going to be the centre point of the lighting design, and gives us the avenue to present an area not only great for community events, and we've certainly had the Kingaroy Christmas Carnival Committee indicate they're very, very much in support of that. The Bacon Fest, plus numerous other smaller committees who've expressed the difficulty it is holding an event because they have to arrange lighting, power, street closures and the like. By providing this, it gives us the opportunity to have it function as a street and a car park during the day, and very easily at night or on weekends or for events, make it function as a community zone. We'll provide the infrastructure within that zone for those events, so that the power, the requirements that are needed for those various events. And to provide that link through to the lighting, and the themes through the lighting and the artwork. So as I said, we haven't got that final design yet, but the concept is that'll really provide an opportunity to bring everything together. And importantly, it was very much a critical part of the success of the funding application. And, advice prior to the application was that we needed to differentiate the project from every other streetscape that got nominated. And that was very much activating that zone, was very much a part of it. And it's a requirement in the deliverables under the funding agreement. So these are the latest renders that the landscape architects have provided, and it was some good feedback from our previous presentation that it looked very crowded. So this is looking from the southeast back in towards council. Significant issues significant things you see there is that the surfaces are flat right through from the shared zone, from the forecourt right through to the Glendon Street car park. So there'll be no curb. There'll be obviously a little bit of slope for drainage. The centre parking there during the day, shelters at each end, which will provide a range of opportunities for obviously solar panel provisioning, and that's where the solar offset. We need about 30 kilowatts of solar to cover off our entire power demand. They'll provide areas, for example, stages or presentations, and there'll be tables and areas under those as well for just activation throughout the day at any time. The other thing is there's the opportunity and the concept is that we can have a lighting program there'll be in-pavement lighting proposed currently. We can have a lighting show that really demonstrates and brings together the whole region. So, yeah, thank you, Lynelle. Just another view, looking sort of more from the east. So the landscape architects have actually built the model. So the background is not a photo in this one; it's actually a model. That's again just a view of what it looks like. And this is more of a street view, looking from the south through and how it would operate during the day. So you can see we've got a single lane each way out towards the edge of the road, and then centre parking. So one of the questions, and it was a challenge to us as a team, is what does this actually create? What's in it for me? And I think that's a very good question for everyone to ask about things. Is what's in it for me? So there's 5 key issues that we've identified that will create a prospectus. So when this is finally approved by council, Mr. Mayor, it's good to have you back on the project. that you could take that to a minister or a business group or present it to the mayor, other mayors at councils. This is what our project's about. A short summary of what the benefits and the outcomes will be. So those 5 things: smart country, data innovation, inclusiveness, livability and identity, construction, economic impact, and assets and sustainability. So I won't go through each of them. You've all received these data sheets. Just before we go on that one, Lynelle, in your various packs. So if you do have any feedback in terms of the wording and the messaging, happy to receive that. We haven't got the final branding approval from the BBRF. We're expecting that in the next day or two. So once that's approved, their insignia will go on the bottom of these as well. So that's the standard and style. I think you've all have received a copy of the glossy versions. So, and it's meant to be a pack of information that we can provide together with other fact sheets and the like as we progress to inform people and provide information about the project. Thanks, Lynelle. And just finally, at this. Not at this stage, the overview of construction scheduling. We're programmed to kick off on the 11th of January. Post Christmas, there is probably a bit of a slow start, but Luke and the construction team in Kev's area have been working very closely on getting the program and deliverables. We will be doing work prior to Christmas in terms of some water main work around Youngman Street, Haley Street intersection. The guys did some location work there on Monday night, I think it was, and there's some good news there as well. And then a little bit of work in front of Shopping World in preparation prior to the sod turning, the groundbreaking. The current program has us finishing in June, July 2020, 2022. And that's still a bit of a work in progress, and as we progress, we'll track that. But as with any project, having a tight program in terms of a known program is critical to its success, so we can adjust and put resources on or off as we need. We're looking around that 4 to 6 months per town block. We don't plan to open more than 2 at a time, but we'll predominantly be working in one area, and then there'll be a bit of an overlap when we go to the next area. So again, we're just looking at optimising when those things happen so that the impacts are managed and minimised. There may be a requirement for parallel works, but if that is required, we'll separate them physically so we don't lock down the CBD. The other thing, just too, for council's information, next Tuesday, the 24th, I believe, we have a procurement workshop with industry providers. So basically, that's just to provide industry with information on the project, what opportunities will be there, and particularly we're going to have Louise Reedy there. If people aren't on Felix or on council's current systems, how to get on them. So Louise will lead that from that perspective, and then we'll just follow on with what the work entails and what opportunities are there for local contractors. And it's really important, and we've experienced this through Luke at Mergen, it upskills our local people to be able to provide those services as well. So they need to be competitive, and that will be something we manage through the process, but we certainly want to provide every opportunity we can to use local contractors and resources wherever possible. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thanks very much, Alan. That was very, very comprehensive. Does anyone have any questions, comments at this stage for Alan on the content of the presentation? Thanks, Councillor Henshin.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, could I just address a question to you in relation, and I know I brought this up some weeks or maybe some months ago in relation to the trees. You've mentioned the silky oak there. In my experience with silky oaks, they're an extremely messy tree, and they also encourage a lot of birds. And with our alfresco and our dinings out on the footpath, they are an enormous amount of maintenance.
Yeah, good question, Hook. We've made sure we didn't locate any flowering or deciduous trees at our alfresco areas. So you'll note that the location of them is actually just removed from any of those alfresco. I would try to put the bigger trees, particularly in bigger open areas. So yeah, silky oaks are messy, and it's something we've talked about. We struggle to come up with options that were suitable in terms of being drought tolerant and endemic, without, any of these options will, and we've talked about this before, that the CBD needs more servicing. So, a couple times, 2 or 3 times a week, it's going to need cleaning, irrespective of what trees or what we do. So I certainly acknowledge that. Even the flame tree can be a little bit messy during those flowering times, but we've located them away from those seeded areas at least, and in bigger open areas generally. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Henson. Thanks, Alan. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, because this recommendation that I know that we're discussing, the council note the updated design presentation for Kingaroy Transformation Project and publicly release the revised design for the community shared space. Is it true that this design has come in over budget? Because I've seen the design plans, and I believe that it's 2.5 million over and above what was originally approved through the Building Better Regions funding. Thank you.
Mr. CEO, are we discussing the budget part of it today? Or?
The budget is actually being presented next week, so it's the question if we take it on notice, but it certainly is a question for next week's meeting, so at the general meeting.
Sorry. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's, to me, it's misleading to take a design out to the community without the councillors, the community knowing that it's not the design that was a $9.1 million design. It's actually now a $13.6 million project. So I just think that why would we take out something that we possibly can't afford? So that's my question.
Mr. CEO, just in terms of the officer's recommendation to go to the community, is that something that we need to do today, or can that be part of the resolution for next week's meeting once we have the budget?
Oh, either or. In the probably just the first one, I don't think it was 9.1. It was about 11.5. So just fair, so I've got my numbers right too, councillor. The resolution today is just to allow for public release of the information, so that I take it, and I'll ask General Manager as well, that you're seeking continued feedback on it and to get it into the public domain. Certainly the discussion, and your points are well raised, councillor, and certainly not the desire not to discuss it, but you would have to look at that in the overall context of the whole budget, and certainly that discussion, it's programmed for a full general meeting for next week, so I'm not sure what else I can say to assist, but yeah, it's certainly not to be done behind closed doors. It'll be an open council next week with the whole of the budget information presented before you, not just one component. If
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. CEO. We might go across to you now, General Manager, for comment as well. Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just for council's interest, the design that's presented today is largely consistent with the design that went out for public consultation in September. There's obviously been a few minor amendments around the feedback that we've received, particularly in relation to the addition of the lens. The intention of the resolution today is that you receive the design, that it is back in the public domain. The matter for the budget will be discussed at the general next week. So if just to be clear, this resolution is that it's noted. We haven't presented the updated shared zone previously. It's always been hasn't been released in the previous consultation. At the end of the day, like any project, it is a concept you're receiving. What you do with the budget is by council to decide next week at the general. So we'll come back to that report there, Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, I suppose to support that, councillor, it's being received for information today. For want of it's not committing you to that, but yeah, it's in the public, and that was part of the exercise today, was to put the information in the public domain.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. CEO. Thanks, General Manager. Councillor Duff, did you want to further
I'm
clarification?
Sorry to labour on it, but the wording here is that we're taking it out to the public. I'm absolutely 100% supportive of the Kingaroy Streetscape and doing a really good job on it, but I'm just concerned, and I know that community will be concerned about putting something out that we can't afford. So I'm just going to leave it at that, but I'm not going to support the recommendation here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. I'll come to you shortly, Councillor Shoemaker. I just do note that the recommendation says that council note the updated design. It doesn't say that council approve or endorse the updated design. So what we're doing here is simply noting it, Mr CEO, General Manager, so that that can go out for public consultation, public commentary. It may be that that design has to be changed, or if there's budgetary considerations when we look at the budget holistically, it may be that there were some adjustments at that time. But council is not approving the design here today. That is not what the resolution is aiming to do. Would that be correct?
Yeah, 100% through you, Mr Mayor. The idea of today's session was to put the design out that you can consider it between now and next week's general as well. So that way, when the report comes up, you've been through the design, you know exactly what we're proposing for the budget that's being proposed, particularly that there will be a revised budget over a revised budget strategy to go with this design. If council wishes to alter the design or send the design back or alter the budget, then obviously that's a decision for council to make at the general.
Thanks for clarifying that, General Manager. So Councillor Duff, what had clarified there, this is to be noted. We're simply noting it, giving support for it to be public released for consultation, but this is in no way, the motion is in no way, the recommendation is in no way approving or endorsing the design. It will be discussed fully at the general meeting, including the budgetary considerations. Does that clarify that? Thank you. Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I actually have very similar concerns to Councillor Duff in relation to public releasing information that we haven't yet confirmed a budget for. And as you know, I'm very supportive of the project. A strong regional hub is important to the growth and prosperity of our region. And I know the people of Kingaroy have been saving for this project for a very long time, and I certainly recognise the contributions of the former Councillor Fleischfresser and Councillor Campbell for their works in bringing this project to a reality. The design is fabulous. Its functionality and opportunities, particularly from a livability and lifestyle point of view, which I know I've been talking a lot about ever since elected, and certainly having infrastructure that's fit for purpose for the future, and the inclusivity. I know Councillor Potter's very passionate about inclusivity, as am I, for people with disabilities, and making sure, you know, we do not have these giant drops in footpaths where people are struggling with wheelie walkers and aids. So I'm fully supportive. I can certainly list the families that have moved away and friends that I've had, and I think this plan and this design really gives them reasons to stay, which is hugely exciting for our region. And I know we're currently experiencing high demand for rental properties, residential land and development, which I think is a great problem for us to have. I'm confident this project will encourage people to call the South Burnett home. I love the design, however I am concerned about the budget, and I know we will discuss this more at the general meeting next week.
Councillor Shoemaker, just a point of order, and certainly happy to give you the floor, but there isn't a motion on the table at this point in time. So at this stage, I would just wanted to confine the conversation to questions about the design for Alan, and then we'll come back to further commentary.
Sure.
So certainly you'll get your opportunity, but not until such time as we have a motion on the floor that has been duly seconded, and then we can have conversation then about that,
Sure,
if you're
Mr.
comfortable with that.
Yep.
Thank you.
I guess I know, and I'd like to thank the project team for the rigorous checking they've done, and certainly, you know, further to that, I would much rather go into a project knowing that we had everything that we needed to see it completed. So certainly recognise that. I've raised concerns about our ability. I do have some concerns about the remaining part of Kingaroy Street, so I probably would like to ask some questions about that in terms of what stage 2 may potentially look like into the future and how we may be able to progress that, noting that this is a 2-year project. And it's my view that in some ways we may have to rethink some of the design elements. So I know we'll discuss this more at the general, but I've built 2 houses in the past, and I've certainly faced similar challenges when it comes to projects like this. So I do have worries that we are taking a plan out to the community that we haven't yet fully confirmed and agreed and decided on. And so I don't want to get the community's hopes
Yeah,
up.
thank you, Councillor Schumacher. We'll certainly come back to you once we've got the appropriate order of business. Does anyone have any questions for Alan or General Manager in relation to the design concept that's been presented at this stage? If not, we'll move on. I'll hereby move then that Council note the updated design presentation for Kingaroy Transformation Project and publicly release the revised design for the community shared space. Does anyone wish to second such? Thank you, Councillor Freiloff. And Councillor Shoemaker, my sincere apologies, but we'll now go to councillors for questions and comments in relation to the motion that's on the floor. Councillor Shoemaker, did you want to proceed in that regard? Thank you.
Certainly, Mr Mayor. Probably just my question is more around Kingaroy Street and what the plans are, because we've all received significant feedback relating to Kingaroy Street. So I just would like to have some discussion about that. I do have concerns about the fact that we are building such a beautiful CBD and you will have to drive up Kingaroy Street before you reach it. So certainly I don't want to see residents or tourists turning the other way and avoiding the main street. So I'd like some more information about how this will progress into the future with Kingaroy Street.
General Manager?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. To answer the councillor's question, we would need a direction from council to commence design of Kingaroy South. And obviously that would go through diligence and council for budget consideration in your forward program in whichever year you wish to consider the project.
Yeah, thanks, General Manager. Councillor Schumacher, you comfortable at this stage, at least? Right, any other further questions or comments? Councillor Duff, you had an issue to raise before. Did you want to raise that as part of the motion?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm just concerned about the publicly releasing this design when I don't, as Councillor Schumacher said, I don't believe that we have can put out. I don't think we should put out something to the public that we can't afford to deliver on. So I think that the public needs to understand that that project, what we're putting out there, is not in the scope of what we originally had put forward. That we put in, as I was correct. Sorry, the CEO corrected me. It's 11.1 was what we actually put through the Building Better Regions Fund, and this we're not going to talk about the budget today, but I believe that this design is not going to come inside that affordable budget that we actually put to the community in the first place. Thank you.
In that, does any other council wish to speak for or against the motion at this stage? We'll come back to Councillor Duff. General Manager, do you want to clarify that any further? I mean, are we in a position to be able to change the proposed design at this stage before it gets out to the community? I mean, I can clearly understand what the organisation is trying to do here. We're trying to get something out to the community that we can share, we can get some consultation around. It's really important that we do that and keep it moving forward. But I can see your concern. How do we do that without raising false expectation in the community if things have to be changed later? Mr CEO, any thoughts from you?
The only again, without repeating, full budget, rather than picking one piece of the project, full budget for next week. Meeting was called today so that it can be put into the public domain. So if councillors would have no concerns with being able to canvass information, it has been spoken about both at workshops and also other meetings that councillors would like more information in public domain. They can go back, canvass those opinions and come back. No issue with that at all. Certainly do your own consultation and bring it back next week to the General.
Oh, look, I certainly would support Councillor Duff and Councillor Shoemaker's concerns around let's make sure we understand what the budget implications of this are going to be, as Mr CEO has indicated. But against that, I can also see there's a need to get something out to the community for consultation. I think we have to be very clear about the messaging around that, though, to make sure that the community understand that this is a proposal. We are seeking your feedback. And if the community comes back and says, well, we want to know what it's going to cost, we want to know what the financial implications are going to be for ratepayers across the region, well, then we can take that into consideration. And I guess what I'm hearing here today is that there will be the capacity, if council so wishes, to change this, to modify it, to reduce the expenditure, the capital expenditure, through appropriate resolution, that there will still be the scope to do that, that you're not signing up to endorse this today. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding, Mr CEO, from what you've articulated this morning.
Just putting it in the public domain, Mr Mayor.
I think that's fairly clear. Councillor Henson?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I just make it noted that also this is over a 2-year project in completing this transformation, and with what council's got on the table and what we've got in front of us as a new council is it's exciting. It is extremely exciting. We get one chance to get this right. And I would be extremely disappointed if I sat here in December 2022 and there was conversation not only within this council but within the community of, oh, if only, I wish this, or I wish that. We get one chance at this. We've got to get it right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Henson. Councillor Shoemaker?
I absolutely agree with what Councillor Henson has said, hence my comments. We have one chance at this and we have to get it right. The scope and design that's put before us has significantly changed over the last couple of months. I'm completely supportive of the project, but for me it's about fiscal responsibility, what we can afford versus what we like. And I love the plans, but I am worried that we are misleading the community without having all of the details of the project on the table. So, you know, I know we'll discuss this more at the general, and I just want to remind everybody I'm really happy and grateful for the work that's gone into this from the project team. We've got a great team of people who are very passionate about our region, which is exciting and excellent. But I'm just not yet sure if we can actually afford what we're putting on the table. So I want more information is what I'm saying.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Shoemaker. Any other councillors wish to comment? Councillor Jones?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Can I just get it clarified that we're trying to put out a plan or a design for community consultation? I think it's been quite clearly stated here this morning by yourself, Mr Mayor, and by the General Manager and probably the CEO, that if whatever design comes back from future consultation after we put this design out into the community, if there's any changes, the council has every right and every opportunity to change and adjust the budgetary requirements and make the changes to the design for whatever reason we need. What we're doing here today doesn't lock us in lock it in solid, where we have the ability to change moving forward down and adjust accordingly to budgetary requirements or whatever, and taking on the councillor's reference to the southern end of Kingaroy Street, all that sort of stuff. You know, if you're going to want to do the southern end of Kingaroy, for instance, you're going to have to take a substantial amount out of the centre transformation project that we currently have. So they're all conversations that we can have. But at the moment, we're only putting out a design so that these people, our staff, can go out and councillors can go out and get further consultation and further feedback to enhance the design of what we're trying to produce here. And again, we do only have one chance at this. We only have one chance. We've got to get it right. So all we're doing here at this very present moment is enabling the staff and councillors to take a design to the community with no obligation to the 11.1 or the 13.6 or the 15 million that's being quoted here. That's all discussions to have in the future. We need some design so that we know what we have to afford to pay, or like what we've got to cover in our budget. We need to get this out, and it's by all means, like you said, Mr Mayor, we have to watch the wording around it and how we present it to the people and make it quite clear that this is the design, and we have budgetary discussions in the next coming weeks to, you know, be able to either, yes, we can afford this, or no, we can't, we have to drop something out. So I really think that I understand the conversation and the frustrations and all that, but I think we need to understand that this is just getting it out into the community, and I don't think we're misleading the community at all with this. We're putting a proposal out. We're putting a proposal out as a design for further feedback from the community, and knowing only full too well that we have budgetary discussions whether we can and can't afford it and what the people want. I don't think it's misleading. I think we're just trying to get that more feedback back so that we as a council can make informed decisions. And I don't think we can make informed decisions on budgetary requirements and all that unless we go out and get the feedback from the community and the further consultation and all that sort of stuff. So I think this is just a straightforward resolution, and we need to enable the people to do it.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Any other councillors wish to speak for or against the motion? Okay, well, that being the case, we do have a motion at hand, and we'll now put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's resolution has been passed, 5 votes to 2, with Councillors Duff and Councillor Schumacher voting against the resolution. Can I just thank you all? I'll also clarify that the resolution that has been passed is that Council note the updated design presentation for KTP and publicly release the revised design for the community shared space, and to confirm the advice that this in no way endorses or accepts the current design, that final acceptance will be subject to detailed conversations around budgetary implications and budgetary constraints. Very good. Thank you all. So that's that item dealt with, and I believe that will bring the meeting to a close. So I will now officially declare the special meeting of the 18th of November 2020 closed at 10:22 a.m. Thank you all. We will now break for 10 minutes before we open the Finance and Corporate Standing Committee meeting. Thank you.